Before we start, let's get a couple things out of the way first. Hamlet was written in 1600 by William Shakespeare and is a tragedy, meaning that everyone dies in the end. Spoilers, I know. And it's also about the Danish monarchy. There are 5 parts, known as acts, to the play itself, and do keep in mind it is a revenge play tailored to the tastes of its originally Elizabethan audience. But before it even begins, King Hamlet is dead. Not the guy in the cover, but his dad. We'll get to how he died later. Act 1, Scene 1 opens with some guards on patrol right around midnight. They see the ghost of King Hamlet, who, like I said, is supposed to be dead, but the ghost is actually really important because he reveals how King Hamlet died. More on him in a little bit. Then, King Hamlet's brother and Prince Hamlet's uncle, King Claudius, now takes the throne and marries Queen Gertrude, Prince Hamlet's mom. This is known as incest. He makes a speech about how sad he is about King Hamlet dying, but how also, since King Hamlet killed King Fortinbras from Norway, King Fortinbras' son, Prince Fortinbras, is going to come and take revenge for the death of his father if they don't stop grieving for King Hamlet and do something about it. Prince Hamlet, of course, is not super duper happy about this. His dad is dead, his uncle married his mom, and Prince Fortinbras is about to take revenge for his father's death. A truly relatable and timeless conflict, I know. Through a bunch of asides, which are a theatrical device used to show a character's inner motives and emotions to the audience, we can also infer that he is deeply upset, so much so that he considers suicide. Prince Hamlet's first soliloquy, which is another theatrical device used for when one character is speaking on stage to themselves internally, is about precisely how bad he wants to die, so much so that he wishes his flesh would just melt. Again, super relatable. He has a soliloquy in every act except Act 5. Then after that, there's Polonius, who is a sort of advisor to the king. He has 2 children, Laertes and Ophelia, who is Hamlet's love interest, sort of. You'll see. But Polonius is sort of like, don't have sex, stay away from Hamlet. And Ophelia just kind of goes along with him. Then the guards tell Hamlet about the spooky ghost, who shows up again, this time with some exposition. What's important to understand about the ghost of King Hamlet is that he sort of functions as a storytelling device, who explains to Hamlet that King Claudius actually killed him by putting poison in his ear, and that Prince Hamlet should take revenge, which is just like how Prince Fortinbras is plotting to take revenge for the death of his father, King Fortinbras. Sons taking revenge for their fathers is actually kind of a trend in this story, and we're going to see one more example of it come up later, as foils to Hamlet. Hamlet finding out how his dad really died sort of sets up one of his main motives, which is to ultimately kill King Claudius. But in order to cover up his plans, he starts to act crazy in an attempt to mask his plots. To investigate this new erratic behavior, King Claudius hires Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, some old buddies of Hamlet, because they're also convinced that Hamlet is in love with Ophelia, and her sudden rejection, because of Polonius, is causing him to go insane. The relationship between appearance, reality, and even ambiguity is going to actually become really crucial to the story, along with how some of the characters act in a certain way, but end up having ulterior motives, including but not limited to just Hamlet. For example, when Polonius and King Claudius are spying on a conversation Hamlet and Ophelia are having, Hamlet just goes off on Ophelia, roasting her to the core, telling her to essentially keep her legs closed and stop acting like a whore. Claudius, upon seeing this, is not really sure if he's crazy, but he plans to just send him off to England with a letter to the English king telling him to kill Hamlet, just to be sure. Speaking of acting and its relationship with reality, one of the first parts of Hamlet's big plan to kill King Claudius is to get a bunch of actors to act out a play with a scene similar to how King Hamlet was killed, with the poison in the ear stuff. Hamlet observes King Claudius's reaction to this to really see if he's guilty, and sure enough, King Claudius feels so guilty that he just up and leaves. Then, when he's all alone, he admits to his guilt in the murder of King Hamlet and tries to pray to the Catholic high heavens. Just as he kneels, though, Hamlet sneaks in with a sword, ready to strike, but upon seeing him praying, he refrains from actually killing him, because dying during prayer sends one to heaven, but Hamlet wants King Claudius to burn in hell. Then he stops by his mom's room, where Polonius is actually hiding behind a curtain to make sure things don't get too wild, knowing how crazy Hamlet is now, right? But then, sort of like Ophelia, Hamlet just goes off on Queen Gertrude, ridiculing her over and over for sleeping with his uncle, getting over King Hamlet so quick, and just being a dumb harlot. The queen, threatened by Hamlet, yells for help. Polonius is about to help her, but then Hamlet hears him and stabs through the curtain, thinking it's King Claudius. Then the ghost comes back, but is only visible to Hamlet, solidifying his insanity to the queen, as if he didn't already make it super obvious. The ghost reminds Hamlet that he still has a job to do, which, of course, is to kill King Claudius. Then, after Hamlet drags away what's left of Polonius, the queen goes to tell Claudius about what he did. Claudius tells Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to go find Hamlet and Polonius's body. Then it's revealed that Hamlet knew that his old buddies were actually royal spies sent by Claudius. So when Claudius asks Hamlet where Polonius is, Hamlet says he's with the worms and maggots, which is where you'll be when I'm done with you. Upon seeing exactly how crazy Hamlet is, Claudius decides to send him to England along with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, along with the letter. But before that, Hamlet catches Fortinbras' army getting ready to take Poland, even if it's just a really small, tiny, insignificant sliver of land that's not even worth 5 ducats, which is a gold coin they use as currency. Hamlet sees how much initiative and commitment those around him are showing for even the most meager of causes, and laments himself for not doing the same, given the comparison of the army of soldiers ready to fight for a tiny piece of land, and Hamlet himself, who still has not killed King Claudius, who is guilty of all these things. Then we also find out how Ophelia and Laertes react to the death of Polonius, their father. Ophelia just goes cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and just starts singing, I guess. Laertes, on the other hand, is our third and final example of a son seeking vengeance for their father, with the first two being Prince Fortinbras and Prince Hamlet. He bursts into the room with his followers and demands to know what happened to his father. King Claudius deflects his blame onto Hamlet, plotting to kill him. Then, a message from Hamlet is brought up which says, "I'm on my way back, but Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are still on the way to England." Then King Claudius and Laertes go to Plan B, a fencing competition in which Laertes is to poison his sword. But then the queen reveals that Ophelia has drowned herself in a river. Here is a cool artistic depiction of it. The last act of the play is really cool, so buckle up. Some grave diggers are cracking jokes with one another while doing it is what grave diggers do, dig graves. But Hamlet and Horatio see them, and Hamlet is all like, what are they doing? They're just chucking around bones and singing songs like it's some sort of like weird bowling alley or something, dude. Then Horatio's just like, they're grave diggers. It's what they do. They dig graves. Then Hamlet takes one of the skulls of the bodies the grave diggers are digging graves for and realizes that it's Yorick, one of the king's old jesters. But right before he's about to give another soliloquy, in comes what's left of the royal family with Ophelia's coffin. Laertes just wants to hug his sister one more time and he leaps into the grave. Hamlet, after realizing that it's Ophelia, confesses his love, saying it surpasses that of 40,000 brothers, and in he goes. Laertes and Hamlet start fighting right on top of Ophelia's body. I can only imagine what that would be like to be her in that situation, if she were alive or something. Then they're pulled apart, and Hamlet and Horatio meet in a hall in the castle, where Hamlet reveals that he actually found the letter on his way to England and replaced it with a replica and used the Danish royal wax seal, this time saying that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are to be put to death ASAP. Some ambassadors later verify this. After that, we approach the end of the story. Hamlet and Laertes set up to duel in front of the royal family, who are witnesses. They get hits in on each other, and Hamlet is struck with the poisoned sword. King Claudius poisons some of the wine and offers it to Hamlet, but he's kind of busy fighting Laertes. Then Queen Gertrude starts drinking it, and King Claudius is like, uh-oh. Then, in a scuffle, Hamlet and Laertes end up exchanging swords, and Hamlet strikes Laertes with his own poisoned sword. Laertes, realizing what happened, reveals to Hamlet that the king was behind everything. Hamlet, also realizing that his mom, Queen Gertrude, has been poisoned, charges King Claudius and gets real stabby with him, even forcing him to drink his own poisoned wine. And right after that, Fortinbras' army can be heard marching closer and closer. And Hamlet, on his last legs due to Laertes' poisoned sword, tells Horatio to tell Prince Fortinbras everything he saw. And Fortinbras, his attendants, ambassadors, and soldiers all end up seeing the aftermath. And him and Horatio are just like, guess I'm king?